You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's episode, we're just taking a page from the head coach's playbook. What's next? We know what the news was, and now we're looking to the next steps to take to now deal with it. Quentin Joyner, thought to be RB1, out for the year. So what's happening now as the Red Raiders compensate for that injury hit? Obviously, you know the names Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams, but our conversation will extend beyond that today. On today's episode, we will get to how this could, or maybe not, change the dynamic as far as expectations, team ceiling, team floor type of thing. I also want to talk pressure with you, Chris, because this clearly ups the ante for everybody involved, but I want to get to a couple of guys specifically that we may feel like it's dialing up the pressure for a certain amount. But as far as what's next, let's start there. Whether we're talking about efforts outside of the building, could we hear about some new names in contention to maybe be added to this roster, or maybe names being moved around? You've touched on a couple of those already as far as some position swaps. What's the lay of the land as now we are seeing efforts underway to try and fill a void here?
Yeah, sometimes this stuff it hits hard, and then you need some time to process and kind of get your bearings and all those things, because you're right. I mean, they that's a mantra over there that they just preach. What's next? I mean, no matter good, bad, indifferent, whatever. What's next? I mean, there's always something next, and so now as we try to process this and where we go from here, and what does your team look like now? What does your offense look like now? What's everybody's mood over there? Is everybody who we handing it to now? Can we not run as many two-back sets anymore? I mean, just there's a variety of different questions. Can we not use some of our running backs in the return game or at different positions now and all that? So it just there's layers to it, as we talked about when we first heard about it. And I would say this: if your offensive line ends up being good to pretty good to great or whatever, just if it's a major upgrade, this is a position to where you don't necessarily need somebody special back there that is just a freak to be very productive running the football. We have just been used to, with Roderick and Taj being here for the last several years, whether they were here together or just Taj, it's been very productive. And they've been household names. I mean, Roderick set those records for most touchdowns scored. And then you've got Taj, who was just like as reliable as anybody that's ever come through here in recent years. And so, and I want to make this clear, because I've seen some people like kind of speculating that Quentin wasn't even going to be the starter. I couldn't disagree with that more. I think they were talking committee. I think that they were going to play all these guys. If your best foot is forward, Quentin Joyner was going to be the starter, and then Jacoby Williams was going to be the change of pace back. That's what it was going to look like. And then Cam Dickey and then Adam Hill behind that. So now Jacoby, his role doesn't really change now. He's still going to be implemented in there. He's going to be the change of pace guy. Maybe he gets a few more carries now than before. But now it's Cam Dickey that kind of emerges into the limelight, and he's needed, right? It's not just hey man, this guy could be pretty good. No, we got to have you, man. It's a mindset change for sure. But what else? You can't, because you are very talented at this spot. However, as I've tried to tell people, okay, well, does this mean you're going to be as talented in November? Can you drag these guys along the whole way, or does somebody, and then if you're coach or a personnel guy or whatever, you have to operate in worst case scenarios. what if? Okay, what do we do if? And that's why depth is so big, and that's why some of these teams that are competing for championships every year, they're deeper than everybody else because they can survive some of these hits. So this was just the one position where I wished you'd had maybe an extra, but you've now since created that internally, and you've moved somebody from the secondary over to running back. So now on paper, you're still going to have 4 backs, and then you're going to have a part-timer as well. We can get into all that, but that's kind of what you're looking like now. This is now a Quentin Joyner, Jacoby Williams 1-2 punch. Now it's going to be a Cam Dickey, Jacoby Williams 1-2 punch, and now Adam Hill is kind of that guy behind them, and then a young man by the name of Hollywood. Michael Hollywood Henderson. If you can't root for a guy with the nickname Hollywood, man, I got nothing for you, man. And then Roy Alexander, who we were very high on as a receiver, but I think he's going to be in the take a few carries category, whether it be Wildcat QB or taking a few carries. I don't know what all that looks like yet, but now so that's 4.5. And so anyway, I'll be quiet now and we can try to process all of this, but this is kind of where we're headed here.
I'm curious about, that was one of the things I wanted to ask you. You mentioned, I think, part-time. I was curious if one of these switches could come in the form of you are a running back now, or are these emergency type situations? The Alexander thing sounds like maybe more complimentary in game, like we could have seen anyway, sort of. But Hollywood or other examples, these are still, this would be a part-time switch and just kind of an emergency thing.
I think they've moved him to running back for right now. Does this stay this way when we get through this season? I don't know, but I think that you need somebody. So who is this kid? He's a freshman football player, really. Like if on a recruiting list, you would have put ATH next to him, athlete, which basically means we're not sure where he's going to end up because he kind of does a little bit of everything in high school. And this kid did everything and then some. He was one of the best two-way players in the state. He's running, he's catching, he's intercepting, he's tackling, he's throwing. He was just a little bit of everything in high school, and was awarded as such as one of the top two-way players in the state of Texas. But in the midst of all of that, he ran for over 1,000. He almost averaged 10 yards a carry. He carried it 120 plus times last year. So he had over 1,100 yards rushing.
That's a first down, Chris. Every time he touches it.
Almost.
For those new in the audience.
Yeah, the math, right? Math. He's not the biggest guy. And I want to explain that too, because what is kind of interesting is you just put it down on paper. I think Michael is going to be in the 6 foot, 6'1", 180. Okay. He's probably a little taller, which probably why he translated to DB, or was thought to be a DB. He's probably a little bit taller than Jacoby is, but about the same weight. Okay. But as far as wiggle and juice and all that, has all of that. I think you're going to leave him there at running back, and we'll see if they do anything else. I'm just saying this is kind of where it's at right now. They may have talked about every option under the sun,
Sure.
internally, externally, and everything. But for the time being, this is the immediate button that they push, because now it goes from you've got 3 running backs to 4. But Jacoby and Michael are very similar. Cam and Adam Hill are very similar in their build and running styles and all that. So you've got your bruiser in between the tackles guys, multiple, and then you've got multiple change of pace, juice, get on the edge and kind of run away from people type guys. And then Roy Alexander he's the part-timer here. He's the specialty guy, the gadget guy. I don't know if they would want to necessarily get in a position where it's like, okay, we're moving you permanently, but I think he's, whatever that looks like, I think he's in line to take some carries this year, whether they snap it directly to him or they hand it to him or whatever. I think he will be a guy that does get some carries this year in some form or fashion. and then we'll see. That's why I say 4.5. And I think, like, people may not understand this or weren't wanting to believe it. Adam Hill was going to play some. He just was. Whether it was to get to the end of a game, like be the developmental guy. There's been some chatter about they would maybe be looking to move Adam Hill to linebacker full time because he's 6'1", 225. I mean, he's a Jacob Rodriguez type in that I think you can put him anywhere on the field, he's going to excel. He's smart, he's tough, he's the epitome of Texas high school football. I mean, 2,600 yards and 50-something touchdowns as a high school senior at Albany. I mean, just hand it to him and get out of the way. And he's like Mike Allstott and everybody. I mean, he's just running through, around, like, get off of me, man, and he's not near as polished as somebody like Quentin is. Cam is not near as polished as somebody like Quentin is, with all the things that come with it. Just everything that would come with playing running back, not just pass pro, but running routes, but just, the nuances of playing the position. But this is kind of what it's gonna look like here as you go to battle of the season. This is kind of the group that you're going to go to war with, unless that you do add somebody from the outside.
I was going to say, are we eliminating that? Because I was interested in that component just simply for the fact that you could. First, today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and our code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Today's episode brought to you by OpenPhone. And if you're running a business, you already know every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? If you're like me, probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. If juggling 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate is a part of your daily routine, OpenPhone can solve that instantly. And their custom AI agent handles after-hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads, so you never miss a customer again. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone. They're offering Locked On listeners right now 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free with OpenPhone. No missed calls and no missed customers.
Unless that you do add somebody from the outside.
I was going to say, are we eliminating that? Because I was interested in that component just simply for the fact that you could. And pardon me for losing track of all the rules and regulations when it comes to roster building these days. But you mentioned that, I guess, is probably a day ago or so when we were talking off of the year about that possibility. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so you can. But in what context, I guess, would that happen?
So I think if you go back to Sunday morning of this week, they were already kind of looking at possibilities, exploring options. What else is out there? Curry College, Northern Arizona, Dartmouth. There's a kid that went to Clemson as a 4-star player, and he did something he wasn't supposed to, and so this kid was going to end up going to Liberty. Now he's not. I mean, all options out there and available, I think, were being vetted and looked at, and so junior college is one that I had. Now, granted, the junior college caveat though is that if you're at a junior college and it's like you've been there for a year and you're coming back for your second year, you had to have qualified out of high school to be able to be eligible to move on to a Division I. You don't have to stay at junior college for 2 years. So that there's all. Yeah. So I think they're sorting through that, and I think that this is the discussion. Okay, who can we actually get, and then are they better than what we've got here? Are they better than an Adam Hill or a Michael Henderson or some carries of Roy Alexander? And I think that's can we get them? Can we get them here quickly? Because think about taking that call if you're one of these guys and you're in the midst of practice somewhere, or you've been sitting out all summer and you thought your career was over. Whatever the situation is, hey man, when can you be in Lubbock? For what exactly? Well, we need you to be in really good shape. We need you to learn this playbook, and you want to tote the rock here. I mean, so all these things. And oh, by the way, do you have enough credits to get in? And can we? I mean, so this isn't just like some push the red button and the guy just shows up on a private plane and you roll out the red carpet and away we go. So I think all of those things are being discussed, debated, figured out, and if they come to the conclusion that we can't get them here, or it's just not an upgrade, I think they'll leave it be. But I think that they are trying to vet all possibilities here.
Sure.
The silver lining is that this did happen before classes started, so this is an option. Whereas
do you think though that is the percentage on all that coming together pretty low? I mean, that's a pretty long shot to have that fall into place that way.
I wouldn't say that it's a long shot at all.
Hell no, this is college sports. There are no
yeah, that's right. I think if there's motivation in all parties and the fit is there, I think that as you and I are talking, somebody would be on a plane or could be on a plane. But again, it's about it's about what is available, and is it ultimately at the end of the day, do we, is our opinion that this is a better option than what we have here?
Yeah,
and because they could. I don't know who it would be necessarily, but there's other options, I'm sure, on the team that could end up, carrying the football too, like internally, that they know that's not going to come screw up the locker room, or that, it doesn't require any rev share, whatever. But I think if there's a fit, I think that they push that button. I think if there's something there that makes some sense, you'll see something on social media. Hey man, I appreciate the offer from Texas Tech. I'll be there tomorrow. I'm not going to rule that out at all. It would be quite the. Hey man, you're going to have to cram for some tests here. Like, it would be a lot to put on somebody's plate, but I would not rule that out.
From an entertainment value standpoint, I would welcome that storyline developing. It'd be like, give me Paul Blake just calling some old boy out in the pasture baling hay or something, and he comes to tote the rock. That'd be great. He doesn't have to be 45 in this scenario. We're fine with an 18 to 22-year-old or so. But, okay, we'll see. I thought you would tell me, like, yeah, stars would have to align really for that, and they're probably this or that. But why leave any stone unturned? So, yeah, obviously you do want to explore every option.
This is why – and this is why Blanche and Nance and Wesley Harwell and Sean Kinney, it's why you have a department like this for stuff just like this. It's as much about right now as it is back in December, trying to put a roster together and trying to, figure out who's going to be in the portal coming up this December. Hey man, we need a running back now. Okay. Give me some time, so it's not ideal. It's much better if this would have happened in June or something. But so if you're asking my opinion, I would say that I don't think that this would ultimately come together, but I'm just here to tell you, do not rule that out, because there's somebody out there, now again, maybe they're not as good as you want them to be, but it depends on what you're looking for too. But right now it appears to be Michael Henderson, Hollywood.
Don't rule anything out. Just good general advice if we're talking day-to-day life, observing or covering college sports, I think. All right, before we get out of here, Chris, I do want to step back and kind of take a look at a bigger picture here. And I want to talk team expectations and how this does or maybe doesn't alter them when it comes to a ceiling or a season outlook. And of course, something that feeds into all of that, individuals who have got pressure on them, of course, to perform in a certain way. And maybe that changes a little bit this week. Could be on or off the field, I guess. We mentioned, I think, Baron Morton. Of course, the running backs get mentioned, but we mentioned the quarterback as some who may be under more pressure. But I don't know. Do we mention Mac Leftwich as a guy who may be under a different kind of pressure or see the ante up a little bit? And do we see some altered play calling? A whole lot to consider here now as we think about this season ahead.
There are layers to it. I think I do think that it's fair to say that is your ceiling as high? We can debate on what your ceiling was. Maybe the best way to phrase it is this. You can still absolutely accomplish everything you want to and get to where you want to go. It just may be a bit harder or may look a little bit different. Just because I think Quentin was really good and could have been really good, and it could have made a lot of other people's lives easier. Think about like Taj Brooks, though.
First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. And whether you got your eyes on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in the game. It's simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. You'll love how easy and simple it is to use. And of course, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure every time. Download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. With PrizePicks, run your game. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For only 24 hours, FanDuel is going to be giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP or eyeing a long shot division winner or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment with FanDuel Futures Day, August 26th. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. August 26th with FanDuel. Play your game.
Think about like Taj Brooks, though. He did a lot of the work on his own. He broke a lot of tackles. He made the most of his carries without a lot of help around him. I would just say this, though. If the offensive line, this is where I guess the pressure lies, so we can put it on the O-line or Clay McGuire or Leftwich or whatever. But if the O-line is capable, you could put a lot of different folks back there that are going to be very productive in the run game, as I said at the beginning of the show. There's a reason why the NFL doesn't really pay many high-end running backs. They don't get drafted very high. There's some exceptions to that in the NFL, the special ones, the elite ones, and all that stuff. But for the most part, most NFL teams have 2 or 3, and this is what you're going to operate under. You just happen to be in a situation where you had a feature back. So I think if your O-line is productive and they can maul people like we talked about recently, I think that, Jacoby and Cam and Adam and Hollywood and whoever else could be very productive, and you may not necessarily notice it, but I do wonder how Mac will call it differently. Does he run as much 2-back stuff? Does he run? Does he tilt more toward throwing it? I think they've wanted to be 50-50. I would be willing to bet you. I bet it slants more to the pass. I believe that, but you can't. Barron isn't good enough. Your O-line isn't good enough. Everything's not good enough just to be clearly one-dimensional. You're not good enough there for we're going to major in this and we're really just going to kind of dabble in this other aspect and we're just going to crush people. I don't think any of it is good enough to be able to do that. There's going to be some balance here. It's just a matter of, but maybe it does tilt more toward the pass. So you talk about pressure. There's definitely some more pressure on Barron. I don't disagree.
Is he the choice, top guy on the list, like maybe changes the most for him or puts more of a burden on him?
Maybe or the O line. I think that's right. It's 1 and 1A, and I may say the offensive line heads the list. I think they've got more because now how much more important is it to protect Morton? Because if you are going to throw it a bit more and you're going to tilt that way a bit more, and now how much more valuable is Barron to this equation now that you're missing one of your lead backs or the lead back, right? And it puts more of an emphasis on what Barron is doing or not. Because there's going to come a time, man, one of these games this season where the passing game is just not going to be clicking. It's not going to be there, whether it's windy or he's just off or you have 7 drops in a row or something like that.
It's November. Whatever.
Exactly. It's cold. It's freezing. Yeah. You're going to have to be able to smash it. And I mean, I'm here to tell you, I'm here for the whole Cam Dickey emergence, if that's what happens, and the Adam Hill show too, because I mean, I know enough about Adam Hill just as a player and his size and all that this could be a phenomenal story. I'm not trying to tell you that he's the next preseason All-American or anything like that, or going to be whatever. But I mean, he can more than handle his business, and he'll rough some people up along the way.
I like to hear that. All right. So are we really talking about season outlook kind of adjuster when it comes to this news? Is the ceiling altered because of this position being impacted this way?
I mean, as I said, I think it may be just a bit harder to get to where you want to go without Quentin. If you're picking positions on the field, I don't want to say like this is one you can absorb or it would least affect, but I mean, I still say this: the 2 most important people on your team, as it relates to how good they are and how important they are to the machine, in that there's not like just somebody right there that, I mean, you can move people over to these other places, but I just point to like Howard Sampson and Jacob Rodriguez. Okay. I also think that like your Baileys and your Heights, like the edge, the pressure guys, I think those are very high. I don't know. I probably would have had somebody like Quentin Joyner in the top 10 or so. I mean, Barron obviously is going to be very high on this list. But I don't want to say this wasn't a loss, because it was. I mean, he was a dude, man. I think he was going to be. I mean, there's some lists out there that said he was like the 7th best portal transfer in the country. I mean, depending on where
he was central to the Red Raider cast of Super Friends we were assembling, no doubt.
Yep. And I just don't. I'm not going to back off of that. Well, he wasn't even looking that good. That's just a farce.
I guess Chris, the thing I'm considering is, does it change your identity? And I don't know that I can go that far, because I just keep getting attracted back like a magnet to the work you've done in the trenches, primarily on the defensive side. And that's where I hope your identity is based. And there are like .Bs and .Cs, and that is Barron Morton, and that is a running back or a wide receiver or a cornerback, or Jacob Rodriguez even. But to me, it's about those lines. And so with that not being necessarily impacted, I still come back to kind of thinking, if this derails you, I'm going to be surprised or maybe disappointed in that possibly you were headed for derailment anyway. Maybe that's some copium I'm drinking as a fan, by the way. I will offer that up.
And this is why I say that it's really about the offensive line in this case.
Okay.
I think the offensive line is what you want it to be and hope for it to be. You're going to be okay. If it's not, you don't have somebody like a Taj or a Quentin that can mask those deficiencies. And your quarterback will still be running around and like not have time and all the stuff. So that's just why I kind of put it on the old line. And as we've talked about, that's not necessarily solidified just yet with everything. But thankfully, knock on wood, as I bang on my forehead there's not any kind of injury to any of those guys that's been like the Joyner news, where it's like, not going to see you this year. Yeah. I am fascinated too, though, because this is the other part, Cowan, is that big picture, these are two true sophomores that are gonna get the bulk of the carries this year, and we'll see how Adam Hill and Michael Henderson and company fill that out. But next year, Joyner will be back, and he still has multiple years to play. You've got a kid committed named Ace Rowden, who is by all accounts just rising up the ranks, and Texas is trying to get him to switch and all those things. Maybe you can move Michael Henderson back to DB. Maybe you can move Adam Hill back to, or move him over to linebacker if that's where you see. But I just don't know. Big picture, it's going to be kind of fascinating to see what all this looks like, because next year you could be, if you add Rowden to this group and then you have Joyner with the two other guys, I mean you could be loaded in the backfield.
Well, don't we also have to think about a numbers crunch as far as American dollars in this NIL era? I mean, you brought that up to me in a conversation we were having off the air, and it's really kind of just slipped off my radar. Oh yeah, these guys well compensated, and this was a very well compensated one. So I don't even know if I've gotten ready to think about what that looks like.
Yeah, Quentin, I don't know what the dollar figure was, but I think it was substantial, and I think the plan was for him to be here for a year or two. Well, he's going to spend this year here, and then he still have multiple years to play. And is he completely healthy and totally good to go by next year? But bottom line is, yeah, what is the rev share? What is the compensation? What does all that look like? Because he came here for, and people have asked too, do they still get that even when they're hurt? Yes, they do. This is the roll of the dice that you're taking here, and it's very. It sides with the player in that, yeah, they're protected. I mean, they're going to get their rev share or their NIL money or whatever, regardless if they play or not, as long as they don't, go commit a crime or they break a team rule and get kicked off the team. And there's all that stuff in there. But just for an injury, I mean, this is just part of the deal and part of. But there's a lot of things to consider, like for right now and for into the future, for sure.
Oh yeah, and you're also just getting ready for a season that's going to kick off in less than 2 weeks. So
a fairly important one.
No big deal. Yeah. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you in the YouTube comments. Is this altering your season outlook overall? Shoot us a text if you're in the Matador Mob. Whole lot to think about, Chris. So appreciate you parsing through some of that stuff with us, and we'll continue to do so, I'm sure, as we roll through this week. So enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one. We'll see you then.
Root for Hollywood. Root for Adam. Root for the sophomores. We'll be good to go, man. Keep hope alive, people. We'll all get through this together.
That's right. The Locked On Texas Tech fam family, for better or worse. All right, get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing. And, of course, hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in becoming a Matador Mobster. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. And, of course, a big shout-out to the everydayers. Ain't got to do nothing to be one of those. Just show up. You're just out there every day. It's right there in the title, and we appreciate those who are riding along every day. All right. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.